everybody, it's Doom here from Dungeons and Doom Biscuit, and I was going to make another one of these bases into a mech. I think what I want to do is pop this off this time, and that way I can use it for another piece or something if I want to. I don't know if these come out very easily, but we can try. Yeah, not really. Okay, cool. So for this mech's legs, I was thinking I have so many of these that these could be his little feet, and we could put the legs off of those, or we could use those in some way. Because I have so much stuff like this that I never have use for. So let's get started. To get going here, I have a Dollar Tree poker chip that I'm going to use as my base. I'm just going to get some glue. We want to try to get it to the edges as best we can. I'm just going to shove that down on some cardstock and apply pressure and let that kind of cool. And then what I'm going to do is, well, I have a visit from a beautiful woman. Hello, Mrs. Doom. Hello. I love you. Good morning. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut around this poker chip and remove the excess material that I don't need for the base. I'm cutting it at a little bit of an angle, but I don't really think it matters too much how you do it, as long as you get it off there, you know? This knife ain't cutting shit, but we're just going to keep going with it because I don't want to change the blade or snap a blade off right now. So now we've made a nice little base. I'm just going to come in here and cut off some of this excess crap I don't like, because this blade's super dull, so it made some gross edges. Then I'm going to come in there and I'm going to divide this up in some different plating sections, just like that. Maybe do one there, maybe one there. And to make sure those are more pronounced, I'll grab a metal thing and I'll kind of groove down in there a little bit and make those more noticeable, just like that. Okay. Now let's get the legs on there, I suppose would be next. I'm not sure if that's exactly what I want to use for the legs, but I really just don't want to not do it because it seems like it'd be interesting and cool. And I'm going to have those just stick a little bit out past the edge there. Like that. Oops. Okay. Get those in place. Those are nice and sturdy. Oh, I'm going to turn that one a little bit before it dries all the way. There we go. All right, so then we need to get some legs. Son of a troll. Let's use some sprues. Sweet. These look like legs. Looks like we got two of them here. Now, the other bots I've made have been like construction bots. I don't know if I want to do that with these. Let's cut those legs a little shorter. Let's make them the same height-ish. And then I'm going to cut a little groove in this so I can bend them some. Right in the middle-ish. Like that. And then if you heat those up, you can kind of bend them in place. See? And you should probably put a dab of glue in there and stuff to make it more permanent. Okay. I'm just going to hold that for a moment and let it kind of cool how I want it. I might have to heat this one up again. I don't think I got it warm enough. There we go. We'll just get that nice and bent. It might not stay. I might actually need to get glue in there. A bit of glue. I'm going to pull that so it gives it more surface coverage. Okay. All right, so It's not perfect, but once we get some weight on there, I think it'll hold it down. There's the things you could do. You could, let me get scissors, it'll be easier. You could cut some little plates, and that would strengthen it up on the side. So you could just get, you know, something like that. Hold it down how you want it to be at the right angle and shove a piece of cardboard on there, cardstock or whatever you want to call that. And when that cooled, you could cut off the excess pretty easily, I think. And it might give it a nice aesthetic. Definitely make it more interesting, if nothing else. So there you go, something like that. We have 2 legs. This one is just not behaving in any form whatsoever, and it's irritating the crap out of me. I'm going to see if I can't, oops, you bastard. See if I can't snip off that little bit of cardboard there. Like that. Okay, let's get these mounted. So I'm just going to cut these at a little bit of an angle so that they get more contact area for the way they're going to sit. I'm just getting a dab of glue on each of those. I'm going to stick those on here kind of in and out so that the knees are bent outward a little bit like that. Okay. And then I want to get a bead or something to be the crotch. This is kind of big. Oh, but it might be exactly what we need. Maybe. We'll see in a moment. No, it's probably not going to work like that. Let me see if I can cut that in half. If I can cut that bead in half, it'll do what I want. Oh, sweet. Well done, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, that was just me talking to myself. Ignore it. All right, we can get those in there and get some connection. Something like that. Let's try to get that in there and held a little bit. Okay. When you look at corrupt government stuff, for example, in my town, there are a lot of weird kickbacks and weird people fighting for things that shouldn't matter so much. It's very disruptive to my lifestyle. I like chill. I like to know everything's cool. I don't like shenanigans to be afoot on any given day. It's just not my thing. Getting some more glue. I'm going to stick this on there like this. I like to know that the elected officials are doing the right thing. That's what I wish. And I think a lot of us wish something similar to that. So when it's not happening, and there are suspicions, and there are questions, and there's large amounts of money that seem to be not doing what they're supposed to be doing, it just makes my life unhappy. On a federal level, you have no impact. But on a local level, any one of you can stand up and say, hey, this is wrong. And you probably should, because you're a citizen of this nation, and you have responsibilities that if you can do something, you should do something. Now, what that means, whether it's you getting on Facebook or going to a city council meeting, or you organizing a group of people to stand up, or going to the news with some facts, whatever that looks like in your world is going to be different than mine, obviously. And my fight is multifaceted and involves several factions that are for and against each other in different ways, which makes it way more difficult. I'm not a politician. I'm an old guy that crafts garbage into other garbage in my basement, if you haven't noticed. So everything's looking pretty dry for the most part there. I'm not real happy with the sturdiness level of that. So what I'm going to do to pimp that out is I'm going to get some super glue and get it down in here and make this kind of a more permanent home. Let me grab some baking soda. We'll just get that under there and we'll sturdy that right up. And now, there we go. Much better on that side. Let's hit the front and the edges up here a little bit. There we go. Yeah. And I'll tell you, when you're fighting fights like this, you got to play. It's like you're following the Geneva Convention and trying to do the right thing and be honest. And these people don't play by those rules. They're just they can afford lawyers. They're bonded by the city sometimes. They have all these advantages to where they can just be dishonest and attack your character. And unless you can afford all the legal defense in the world against it, you got to watch everything you say. You got to watch what you're involved with and who you associate with. And it's just, you got to worry about how it's going to affect your work life. Like this company, or these people, one of the companies they're involved with actually reached out to my job, if you can believe that shit. And they were like, hey, this guy's making life hard on us. And I'm just like, all right, cool. My bosses are good people. My boss is a good person, and his boss is a good person. And they, of course, didn't listen to him. But if they had, it could have created an enormous problem for me. Let's see if these are roughly the same height and at least as tall as a miniature. Let's hope they are, and it'll save me ruining pieces. So they are about as tall as a miniature, and that's what we wanted. So let's get 2 little spots back here where we can mount these bars. Like that. And there's probably going to be some kind of defensive armor on the front of this mech, because this mech is not a construction mech. This mech is a combat mech. So to make sure that we can stick this on the front there, I'm just going to get some glue. Like that. Kind of get it into place the best I can and let that hold for a moment. It doesn't have to be perfect. Remember what I said, the engineers in this world are not the engineers of old. They're not like the engineers we have now. They don't have training from a college. They're learning stuff either by doing it, by just, being taught by that person before them, the man or woman who trained them, or they're looking at computer programs or manuals. These are not people that are actually dedicating like 4 years or 2 years or 6 years of their life to their process of what they're doing. These are people that just get these jobs. Some of them don't live very long, so they don't ever become super proficient at it. There's just a ton of reasons why it might not work. Let's make sure our miniature can get in and out of here pretty easily still. Looks like he can. Good. Now we're going to get a little bit of glue here and here. And we want that connected well. We want that to be sturdy so it doesn't pop off. Okay. Get some spider webs cooked up so we don't have to deal with those. I don't know what I'm doing now. I'm just cooking this a little bit. All right, so let's assume this armor plating is helpful, and we have to figure out how the weapon mounts or arms or whatever we're going to use here are going to mount to this. So let's get some small beads from my bin marked bricks and look for some small beads that can do the job. These might be good, and they're pink. So we get some pink beads. We're going to mount those to the sides. And we're going to go right where that plating connects and shove it into that spot so where we get a good solid bond. We're going to do that on this side as well. I'm just going to touch that plating and then push it up against it and then raise it up a little bit. We're going to get our glue. Dab there. Dab there. We're going to sturdy this up. and those arms should be sturdy. Okay, miniature fits in there. Now we have to figure out the arm situation. So for the first arm, I'm just going to grab a piece of, I don't like that one. Let's see what I got here. Something like this. See if we can't get that in there as our first arm joint. And this arm will be like a melee arm with a grabber arm on it, and the other arm will be a gun arm. Since I am a lefty, I'm going to make this left arm his grabber arm. Pardon me. Get a couple of these. I think those would be interesting as a joint. So then we're just going to get a tiny dab of glue on that to hold it in place. We're going to stick it on there. It's going to be the elbow joint of this piece. We're going to let that cool. While we're letting that cool, I'm going to get a little bit of glue here and here. I'm just going to make that the forever home of those pieces for now. Nice. We'll set that off to the side and get the next section of the grabber arm. Let's get something a little long that we can work with. So this is pretty long. And we're going to put that spike part on the outside. Let's get a cut here at a little bit of an angle. And let's cut the front of this flush so we can get a hand connected easily. Okay, and once that cools and sets, we'll get a little bit of glue on it. Like that, right in the gap. And that's a lot of glue for what I wanted right there, so I'm just going to kind of soak some of that up with some cardstock. There we go. Nice. We'll make this sturdy. Now I'm worried about this not being super strong on the bottom, so I'm going to come back and get a little bit there and there. I'm just going to sprinkle it. Okay. Looks like it's going to be all right. Now we need a grabber arm. So to make our grabber arm, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get that bead there. And I'm going to get some smaller pieces of sprue. Like that. Okay. And I'm going to make it to where it looks like it could pick a person up. And to do that, I'm just going to get a tiny bit of glue there. I'm going to stick that sprue on. And this is kind of a bigger chunk, you know, like that. And then on this part, I'm going to make it multi-jointed. So to do that, I'm just going to take one of these pieces, snip that off. Put one there, like that. I turn upside down so it cools the way I wish. I cut that off, just like that. Okay. Okay. Then I'm going to add, oh, son of a damn it, the longer pieces here. At a bit of an angle. coming back in. So it looks like if this were to scissor shut, it would grab someone pretty good. We'll hold up there like that, and we'll get this piece to be like a smaller finger on that. Okay. Okay, nice. Something just like that. Now there's a lot of excess glue, so I'm going to rub that up and down and try to smooth that out a little bit to give it a better look. Let me move my camera back a little bit. There we go. Something like that. Now we need to get it on the model. Oops. I think just a dab of glue like that and get it in place like that and let it cool for a minute. Okay. My belly's rumbling. And then for that finger, we're going to need to sturdy that up too for both of these. So put a little bit there, we'll spread it around and get a good surface grab. I'm going to take it off camera and blow it a little bit just to get the big lumps of glue off and to see if it spreads it around a little bit. Okay. Everything looks pretty sturdy. All right, the other arm is going to be a gun. So to make that arm, we need a piece of sprue. And I'm going to snip off that. Something like that. I'm just going to get a dab and shove it in there. Just like that. I'm going to pull it out a little bit so it's angled. Okay. And then we need another elbow joint. We'll get that on there. Now I need a gun of some sort. I'm not sure what this is from. Maybe it's from an old Power Ranger, or maybe it's from one of those Dollar Tree, what do you call them? Something like that, though. One of those Final Faction things, maybe. Those usually aren't made out of this kind of quality of plastic, so I don't know. And then we're going to use that as our gun. Okay. And then we're going to reinforce this arm and its parts with a little bit of super glue. I'm going to take that off your camera and blow on it, spread it around, and get some of the excess glob. And I'm going to strengthen it up. All right. So far, we're looking okay. Let's get some, cook some of the garbage off it. Beat it up a little bit. put some penetrating holes in there. Okay. Let's do one more over here. All right. Now, in reality, it would be really cool if we had a flip down top for this, right? I think it would. So let's try to make one. I don't even know what I'm going to do here. So let's get 2 pieces of sprue about yay long. And a back piece to mount those together. Okay, and we'll let that sit for a minute and get in the right shape. Then we'll get some super glue and some baking soda, and we'll stir that up. Okay. Pull off that excess glue. We'll cut that flush. I made it a little bit too small. Let's make sure it still comes out far enough. Yeah, it looks like it does. Let's put a front bar on there. We'll use a bigger piece of sprue for that. We'll just snip this down and make those kind of interesting by leaving some pieces that do stuff there. Okay. It's got a weird lump, so we'll just cut those off. And we will mount that there. Let's make sure it was dry fitted. Okay. Okay. We'll let that cool for a moment. Then we'll get some dabs of glue. Just like that. Oops, made a mess. I'm going to have to get under here and get some more glue. We got to make this really sturdy if you want to have moving pieces on this kind of stuff. It's one thing to have just, you know, angles, but moving pieces, they're never as strong as you want. This is pretty sturdy though. Okay. Let's get some wire. My snippers have some dents. I've been cutting stuff that's too strong for them. That'll happen. And let's make a connection here. Let me get some needle noses. Pull that kind of snug. Okay. We want to get that back down on the front like that. We'll pull this up just like that, and we'll wrap this around a couple times to make sure it's sturdy. Okay. Oh, I broke that right off there. See that? So we got to get that back on there quickly to make sure we don't suffer the consequences of slow. We'll stick that back on. Okay. Looks fairly sturdy, but looks, as we know, can be deceiving. Okay. Strengthen that up. Come to the inside, do the same thing. Okay. Now I probably made my my wires too sturdy is what I did there. I made them too tight. We could loosen that up, but I think if we're careful and remember that this is, you know, chintzy plastic, we'll be okay. Maybe I should snip those. Let me think about it. Yeah, let's snip those. Let's snip that wire off and not take any chances. Wait a minute. Oh, that will work. That will work. Okay. That's much looser, but it's not loose enough. Okay. All right, we'll have to loosen that up more. We'll snip them. All right, new plan. We're going to make a looser piece using some cardstock. So we need to curve it the best we can. Okay. And to make sure there's no connection on the inside, we have to kind of wrap it around first. Like that. Get a little bit of glue. Pull it down and get that on there the best we can. It can be a little loose right now. It won't kill us. Okay, and then you want to kind of pinch the back a little bit. And now we know it can fit where we need it to, right? Okay. To make sure it doesn't move up and back, we're going to get some pieces of sprue to make sure it doesn't move back and forth in its place, you know what I mean? So we're going to get some pieces of sprue that have some angle to them. Like something like that would work. We're going to add a little bit of a gap just with that piece. And that'll stop it from moving back and forth too much in place. We will have to come back and sturdy that up. It's all right. I know a guy. No, his name is not Bob Jenkins. Okay. Get those in place. Get them glued. Okay. And we do want this to sit on the front pretty evenly and not move around too much once it's done. So to do that, actually, just like that, it would hold it, truth be told. But let's get a piece here. Mounted in. Okay. Where's my snippers? There we go. Okay, that's not going to work. No problem. We'll take it off. We'll figure something else out. Actually, we could leave it like that. I'm not sure how good that would be. I'm going to get a little bit of glue on this thing. Okay. It's a little funky and loose. I don't want to play with it too much and turn this into an all-day fight. That's the reality. I have big plans today. In just a few short hours, I must go on a journey. So, it was what I was talking about yesterday, the amazing news I might have. So, let's make every effort to be done with this shit. Let's get it on a piece of there we go. All right. So there's our mech. He's like a military or law enforcement mech that's been worked on and tricked out many times over the years. You know what would be really nice? I was going to be done, but it just occurred to me to put some rivets and stuff on him to give him a little more, yeah boy, might be cool. So I'm going to get a piece of cardstock here. I'm going to sprinkle some glue in there, just like that. I'm going to grab some of these little gem painting things here. Kind of get those in place. Oops. Oops. I don't know how many we really need to make it look ideal, but a couple wouldn't hurt, right? Oh, I got one bouncing around out there in no man's land I'm trying to catch. Come here, you. Oh, hell, I dropped it upside down right in it. There we go. We'll get that on there like that. All right, cool. Where's my blowtorch? There's a little bit of something undesirable back there. All right, I'll clean this off. I'll spray paint it, and we'll come back and check it out after a while. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell icon, leave a comment, check out the website and the Discord. Those are linked in the description. There's a discount code there. This is going to have to get played with in some form. Wait to figure that out. Well, this isn't going to be touched a lot. You're not moving it around like a toy, you know what I mean? so it's not really an issue. But anyways, yeah, I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.